Alman and Bill Rubin formed the National Committee to Secure Justice in the Rosenberg case in the fall of 1951. He was its executive director, and he is currently president of the National Committee to reopen the Rosenberg case. A book on the case and on the clemency movement, titled Exoneration, was written by Emily and Dave. It was begun about 1995 and was finished by Dave after Emily died in 2004. Emily was chair of the sociology department at Douglas College at Rutgers and a lawyer for the poor in New Jersey. He worked at a half dozen different jobs, had his own business for about 8 years, but he says the best job he ever had was when he became Emily's paralegal in 1990. Dave Alman.
In March 1951, in downtown New York, a few minutes' walk from the Lower East Side Jewish ghetto, in a U.S. courtroom that was adorned by a red, white, and blue 48-star flag, justice officials, prosecutors, and a pliant judge handed the world's anti-Semitic forces a gift beyond their wildest dreams. Sitting in a dock, an all-Jewish cast of defendants accused of espionage and treason. The trial evoked the central thesis of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a late 19th century forgery involving Russia's Tsarist police, which declared that the Jews lacked loyalty to the nations among whom they lived. The aberration in the New York 1951 trial was not that there were Jews in the dock. The aberration was that there were no non-Jews in the dock. Was that simply due to some random accident? Our law enforcement leaders answered this question in the negative in December 1951, 9 months after the trial. After an investigation at one of the development sites for the atom bomb, federal law enforcement officials told the media that disloyal persons would rarely be found among persons of, quote, pure Anglo-Saxon stock, unquote. In short, the all-Jewish cast of defendants in New York was not an accident or an aberration. It reflected what law enforcement officials said was reality. That's Jews for you. The most influential law enforcement official in the United States for half a century was J. Edgar Hoover. First, he was head of the Justice Department's Bureau of Investigation in 1920, and 4 years later he was made director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a title he kept until his death in 1972. He was, one might say, America's first Grand Inquisitor. His mentors and models were like-minded colleagues who shared his outlook. Also, the heads of the great universities of his time, with strict quotas for the numbers of American Jews they would accept as students and as teachers. The academic eugenicists who explained how the non-Anglo-Saxon immigrant populations lacked the traits and the values of true Americans. The directors of the great real estate enclaves in which American Jews were not permitted to live or vacation. And the great CEOs who, with a few notable exceptions, declined to hire American Jewish engineers, chemists, actuaries, and inventors. The best known of these was Henry Ford, auto pioneer and later distributor of the Protocols of Zion to millions of Americans. Hoover turned out to be a quick learner. Among his first acts in 1920 was to send for 12 copies of the Protocols, one for himself, the other 11 for distribution to the personnel in his agency. In that same year, Hoover enabled the deportation of 1,119 foreign-born so-called radicals, none of them charged with indictable offenses, almost all of whom were Jewish. He followed that up with other similarly ethnically skewed deportations. Hoover's understanding of his responsibility as America's top cop was clear to him: to shield the nation from those who challenged the status quo by dissent, or by socialist or communist propaganda, or by inflaming hatred of whites by blacks by claiming discrimination, or by inflaming labor against employers by organizing unions, or in other ways causing feelings of dissatisfaction with conditions that were, he believed, perfectly natural and tolerable. The hostile behaviors by dissenters, he believed, were predictive of outright crimes such as sabotage, espionage, and treason. In his first few years as an official, Hoover compiled several 100,000 files of persons who exhibited